All right, our next game is Bomberman Hero. It was developed by Hudson Soft and published by Nintendo in the US and Hudson Soft everywhere else. It was nominated on Twitter by @AminonChorion. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I have no idea how you're supposed to pronounce that. The game's earliest release date was April 30th, 1998 in Japan. And to help us out with this one, we have a couple of friends of the podcast, NamelessFragger and TheGunHeart.
What's up, gentlemen?
Hi, I'm Nameless. Let's talk about Bomberman Hero.
Let's do it.
Let's not talk about Bomberman Hero because this game, boy. So little history about Bomberman Hero. It was the follow-up, but not really, to Bomberman 64, and it's a single-player Bomberman game, which I think just saying that in a sentence is kind of like trepidation should fill you.
Like, for those of you playing the home game right now, that means this is a Bomberman game. Let's all really soak this in. It's a Bomberman game with no multiplayer.
Like, I just want to ask, honest question, does anybody like playing Bomberman single player? Anyone?
Depends on the game, because I quite like the single player in Bomberman 64 and the Second Attack, thank you very much.
Saturn Bomberman single player is pretty good.
That's the thing that really catches people, I think, out here, is that Bomberman 64 did have pretty decent single player. Like, you know, it's the kind of single player that you bought the game for multi, and then you play single, it's like, oh, well, I'll finish this. This is pretty fun. So then they released Bomberman Hero, and you're like, all right, you got me. It's this 64 was pretty good. I guess Hero's gonna be even better. Oh.
You know, I think the first big insult to injury is the fact that Bomberman 64 single player ends on a sequel hook. And then you play Bomberman Hero, which was the very next game, and it has absolutely nothing to do with 64 in any way, shape, or form.
Basically, the plot is someone had watched Star Wars and thought it was a pretty neat idea and put Bomberman in it.
Specifically, like the first 5 or 10 minutes of Star Wars Episode 4.
Yeah, like they had a friend who had watched Star Wars and was explaining Star Wars to him. And they're like, "Oh, cool, that's a great intro. I'm just gonna take that intro. It's gonna be really cool. It's gonna work in my Bomberman game." And what? Hold on.
It's like the way a dungeon master would steal an idea and be like, "That'd be good if I just rework it a little bit." Yeah.
And so you get Bomberman, and to this game's credit, and this is where I'll give the game some credit, the transition from grid-based, sort of chunky movement, top-down, side-view Bomberman, they do a pretty good job of getting that physically from that to Bomberman as a platform guy who runs around, jumps, throws bombs, kicks bombs, drops bombs. The explosions are 3D, similar to Bomberman 64, and the core kind of works. Yeah, I don't feel like any specific, like, basic feature of this game is awful. It's like, no, it's fun enough. Bomberman works. Controls are okay.
But
so, just to
I was
say,
gonna let someone else.
Like, there's so many buts.
I wish there was more butts in this game.
This game, I feel like, is the most. It is a very quintessential N64 game in that it has that. It's not quite to the level of something like Turok. The draw distance in this game is really something. You've got it's almost to the like Tale of the Sun extent, except you can kind of see the world fading in and out. Like, whereas Tale of the Sun was this weird lens that was sort of scrolling across the landscape. This is, you've got maybe 20 pretend yards of focus around your Bomberman avatar of the world that kind of resolves itself, and the rest of it is in a fog of war.
Like, Tale of the Sun gets away with it because it's this bizarro art game from Dink, so it's like, okay, fine, it's batshit wild, doesn't matter. It's like Bomberman, you're like, well, I don't get it. Why can't I see slightly further in front of myself? Yeah. It's very strange.
But as a counterpoint to that I'll make for it, you don't really need to worry about it, because it's not like most of the enemies in this game are doing much to hurt you anyway, so you're not going to get shot off
screen. The vast majority of them, they just hang out. You know, most of them minding their own business. They're just like, just standing around here, just living life, living the dream.
I like how, like, one of the enemies is like a chick, like a baby chicken. You just blow it the hell up.
Well, it starts off. This is actually one of my favorite enemies in the game because it's a big chicken and it explodes to a bunch of smaller chickens. And I'm pretty confident that is a motif in several Bomberman games. I'm pretty sure the big chicken becoming smaller chicken is in several other games. And you can kind of tell because some elements of this game are borrowed from previous Bomberman games, and they kind of cute, they kind of look good, they kind of work. And then there's a bunch of original stuff in this game, and you're just like, wow, it's a box with the freaking other boxes attached to it.
This game, to me, feels very, for lack of a better term, 16-bit. I feel like if you rework this, maybe make it like an isometric thing, like, I don't know, Sonic 3D Blast, you could maybe do this on the SNES. It just does not feel like a 64-bit game to me.
Frank, you had something else to say?
Yeah, about those chickens you were talking about. They look so cute, and yet you have to blow them up because of the way the score system works in this game.
Right.
That's right.
Like, all those points you get in the corner, yeah, you have to get at least a certain amount if you want to get a 5 on that level.
And why are those
doing
5s
so
important?
is kind of important.
Yeah.
Well, the 5 is... It unlocks the very, very, very far off bonus levels, right? It's not core to beating the game, if I remember correctly.
They essentially gate the final boss behind getting all those 5 scores, don't they? Like the true ending, like good ending?
Yes, they do.
So,
okay, so
it's actually
you have
pretty
to collect
clutch
all
that
the
you murder
bombs,
everything.
but you have to get all the 5s as well. Is that correct? It's been a long time since I finished this
Yes,
game.
you have to get every 5 in the game to unlock the final area.
And you have to
Now,
find all
here
the...
Bomberman.
Doing so often requires you to get like every single pickup and kill every single thing in the level, or just about.
It's the
It's like
genocide.
they sort of got like collectathons and they thought, yeah, collectathons, they're really great. Let's put collectathons in our linear platform game. No, stop, don't do that. That's horrible.
Ugh.
I just find one of the worst things is that it basically just makes every level take much longer to complete than it should, instead of, say, rewarding you for playing it really well.
Or fast. Like, I feel like you could speedrun some of these levels and probably have a good time instead of playing the like OCD Bomberman who just has to kill everything. It's like, wow, that's exciting.
Oh,
You gotta-
the worst part, though, just real quick. If you die, there are no checkpoints, I'm pretty sure. And it can be easy to, like, slip off of a platform and have it so Bomberman won't grab the ledge. You just die, and you just gotta like all that stuff all over again.
Counterpoint to that is you did mention that Bomberman actually grabs ledges in this, which is surprisingly thoughtful. I didn't expect that from a game of this sort of
He does
quality
that.
level, that he does actually grab ledges. So Bob had mentioned that this game feels like a 16-bit game, and TheGunHeart, who's right here, but did a little bit of research and found out that the engine is not the Bomberman 64 engine, as you might expect if you played both of them. It's actually the engine that they were making in 1995 for a follow-up 3D Bonk game. And for some reason, instead of just making more Bomberman 64, they thought to themselves, let's make a single-player Bomberman with leftover code from 1995, and we'll just make a Bomberman game on that.
Can you guys imagine how clumsy Bonk's principal like dive headbutt attack would be in 3D?
God.
Like,
God.
it would be like you wouldn't even be able to tell where he was going.
Yeah, it's the game does this game does have shadows. They're not completely moronic. This is another one of those 3D games where they did give you shadows so you can actually see what's going on. Can I add to this is the way the game works and the point system again? The point system ensures that in order to beat the game properly, you have to cheese every single boss. You can't even play the bosses properly. You have to basically bug them out so that they can't kill you very quickly or easily, so that you just keep spamming bombs. You just keep throwing bombs at them non-stop, because that's the only way to get the boss defeated in the time limit to get the highest score you need to finish the game. This game basically undermines itself as you play it, which is, wow, that's impressive. Also, the power-ups in this game suck.
We haven't even really gotten to the worst part about this game, and this game is just really, really dull. This is like the most white bread platformer.
Good thing you play as White Bomberman.
Sure. And it's even right down to the music, which, like, a couple of reviews at the time seemed to have some nice things to say about it, and I think they're all insane.
If you took the music out of the game and just played it to me, I'd be like, yeah, that's alright. I don't hate this. But There's like 6 or so music tracks in the whole game, and the game has like 50 levels, and it just cycles. Just each level just has one of those songs. They don't even bother trying to theme them to the levels. They're just like, this plays. Basically, you finish the first like planet. I think you've heard most of the songs in the game, and it just keeps throwing those songs back at you. It's like, really? I don't know. I've heard this song like 18 times now. Please, I just can't listen to it anymore. It's so slow, and it's not even exciting. It is basically proto-chillwave as far as I'm concerned. It's really slow and tedious.
Yeah, and I'm actually inclined to like that stuff, and dear God, don't sample from this game.
It especially falls flat compared to 64's soundtrack, which had a lot of nice melodic music to it.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool how they like snuck in like some of the old Bomberman tunes and sound effects, though.
Some leitmotifs, but...
Yeah, it's interesting to me because it's, Hudson didn't do a lot of games in this era that are of this kind. They made a few really great games, including a great N64 game, which is Star Soldier Vanishing Earth, which is very, very good. But this game is not. So it feels to me like a very Hudson 3D platformer. It's very much like their early platformers for the NES in a weird, updated way.
I also get the sense that this might have just been a stop fill where they released Bomberman 64 and they were like, wow, that actually was really well received. Let's get another one out, and they just kind of grabbed whatever they could and then just blew out this game that's not very interesting. It has a bunch of mini game levels just to try and distract you from how boring this game is, because you get like a sort of Star Foxy sort of behind the back style level, which is really, really bland and just I don't even want to play it. You get that, but underwater. You go snowboarding for some reason, which I don't know if this was because maybe they had saw our snowboard kids or something and went, yeah, cool, we'll just put that in Bomberman for no reason. And you get to be a helicopter, and you get to ride Louie, which is another throwback. Louie shows up, and he's fun. That's a nice level that you actually get to have a little bit of fun with until it immediately dismisses Louie, and you don't see him again for most of the game.
So when we rank this, I want to make another point.
Okay.
1998 was a really bad year putting out a mediocre platformer. You had to compete with Crash 3, Banjo-Kazooie, Spyro the Dragon.
Which most of those were not on the N64, which I think is Bomberman Hero's main saving grace, is if you were a person who had an N64 and not a PlayStation, once you ran out of the handful of really strong N64 platformers that the system is famous for. It had some very, very well-regarded sort of A+ platformers. That Bomberman Hero is just kind of like, play me, I'm kind of a C.
Yeah.
And it's sweet, I guess now that I've finished all of these other games, I have no choice if I like platformers but to play Bomberman Hero, because that seems to be what that's the market this game was playing to. It was just, you don't have a choice.
It's just kind of weird and misbegotten in this way. The original Bomberman formula had been pushed so far by this point. And I really do think, I've only recently started playing Saturn Bomberman, and it's just friggin' incredible. And I played Bomberman 64 around the time it came out, and I thought that was pretty good too. But it's a formula that did not change a whole hell of a lot, and they tried to do something, and yeah, they reskinned a bonk game, but it just seems totally misguided. And if this had just been named Random Character Platformer 4, maybe this wouldn't seem as offensive as it is, but they kind of dragged Bomberman into it, and that brings a certain expectation, not the least of which that there'd be some friggin' multiplayer in it. It's just the drizzling shits, man. It was said in chat, but I'll be the one to say it. It just, the cardinal sin, the original sin of this game, is that it's just kind of boring.
Yeah, it is just... I played this game when it was new. I own a copy of this game. I love Bomberman. I bought this game when it was, on shelves, because I'm like, Bomberman! I trust Bomberman to be good, and Bomberman betrayed the hell out of me in this one. I'm just like, I can never trust a Bomberman game again. I'm definitely not buying Bomberman 0, because that seems like a sure thing. The other thing is, this game barely uses Bomberman, as you implied. It uses Bomberman as he throws bombs, he kicks bombs, but there's almost no Bomberman in this game. Black Bomberman shows up for 2 seconds, and then at the end, there's some of the other colored Bombermen. And the rest of it could just be any other franchise. It makes no difference, because why have Bomberman? Why use all this stuff? And it's just like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to just immediately say I can't put this game higher than Gomerless Speed. That's kind of the upper limit of where I would put this game moving on to ranking.
Yeah, we're in the right territory.
I would definitely put it below Glover, yeah. Glover at least had a cool concept.
I don't know if I'm with you, put it down in this area. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is literally unbeatable in some territories. You can get through Bomberman Hero, but it's gated in a really crummy way. So maybe I'm actually kind of comfortable putting it a little lower than that now that I think about it, because it does that bullshit like, hey, you think you've played through this game enough? Sorry. Especially, because I'm kind of interested in, finishing what I start. So if I'd gotten through this thing and gotten, a couple 4s along the way and then have the, realization that I need to go back and play more Bomberman Hero, I'd have probably thrown the damn thing in a dumpster.
The thing is, at least with I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, it's a compelling enough game that you'd be like, yeah, I do want to kind of see where this is going. I don't want to see what happens at the end of Bomberman Hero. At no point during this whole game am I like, wow, I really want to see what happens. No, I don't. I don't want to play any further.
Okay, that's a good point. You've... who wants to push it further?
Not me.
I really don't think the...
I mean down.
I don't really see anything it's better than on this list, except, let's see, and that's below Glover here.
Okay.
Definitely below Glover.
Yeah.
The thing that I would think with this game is, as Jeff said, I appreciate that Hudson went, okay, we have a really winning formula. Let's not use that and see if we can do something else with the franchise. I appreciate that. That's probably one of the only saving graces of this title. They did go out on a limb. This isn't, we screwed up a classic core Bomberman game. No, this is, we screwed up a weird little experiment that we kind of just didn't really know how to make good. So that's really its only saving grace.
I would put it right above King's Quest V, then. King's Quest V is just mean-spirited in ways that I don't think Bomberman Hero is. Bomberman Hero is just inept in this kind of sad way.
Yeah, it's inept, but doesn't outright hate you like a Sierra game does. Come on, man.
And, Firehawk is cut from a very, very roughly similar cloth in that it's just a bold experiment that just doesn't really lock it in any real way.
There's one more thing about Bomberman Hero that I'm just kind of wondering in the back of my head, and it's like, who at Hudson Soft decided that this game needed a cat dominatrix?
Well, it's interesting because obviously, generally they have a female Bomberman, like a foe. Generally, is a female evil Bomberman in every Bomberman story. There's a few evil bombers and one of them's a female.
Usually, evil bombers and stuff. But they're like, no, let's put cat dominatrix in this game instead of any other Bomberman.
Well, because all the male villain characters, it's like a giant sphinx thing, a fat bird with a laser gun. And then it's just cat dominatrix as the...
With a spider robot.
I like the spider robot. I mean, I actually really like the bosses and the designs in this game, but because you basically have to cheese them, the whole thing screws them up. It's not great. I do think above King's Quest V might be right, because as much as we've sort of slandered this game, it is competent. If you're looking for a game that's surprisingly long, it's a really long game for what it is.
Oh boy!
And it's fairly unique and original. I don't think anyone on this planet needs to play this game, and they especially don't need to play it for more than an hour. But it kind of does fill a tiny little niche, and it did fill a proper niche in its time. And it doesn't hate you. In some ways, it just wants you to be a little bored. But other than that, it doesn't really matter. Does anyone really want to push it lower than King's Quest V?
No.
No, I am not pushing it lower than King's Quest V. It doesn't deserve that.
No, it doesn't deserve that, yeah.
I'm okay with where it is.
We are definitely locking it in, and that's going between Firehawk and above King's Quest V. Thank you, Bomberman Hero, for existing.
So when do we get the coverage of Second Attack?
I don't think anyone's going to nominate Second Attack.
Screw it, then I will.
If you're fan of something, you don't have to make an entire game about it. You can help other people do it by going on patreon.com/HG101 and helping us make this podcast by giving us a small monthly donation. For some reason, like when my favorite podcast, which provides me with over 4 hours of brand new content each month, asks me to chip in something like $3, $5 a month, I immediately think, I don't have that kind of money. I can enjoy podcasts for free, therefore any money I spend on them is money wasted, right? But then I had this great experience of meeting one of my favorite podcast hosts in person. This was about maybe a year and a half ago. And afterwards, I realized that although I just bought the guy a couple beers without hesitation, I hadn't been willing to donate anything to his Patreon to help him just pay his bills and keep the show on the air. So because of that, I, immediately after that, just having met him in person made me realize that I should be contributing just a little bit of something. And it feels good. I can't afford to donate money to every podcast I listen to because I listen to a lot of them, as you probably guessed. But there are a few shows that I really look forward to each week because they feel like they were just kind of like made just for me. And for those shows, I try to kick back a couple bucks their way each month through Patreon because I know that if I met those people in person, I'd feel guilty about having not chipped in. If the Top 47K Games show is one of those shows for you, if you'd really miss us if we suddenly disappeared, you should consider going to patreon.com/HG101 and sign up to donate a few bucks a month. You'll feel good and you will help us out and you'll get some cool stuff on top of that. In fact, any amount you give gives you access to ad-free versions of this show, plus an exclusive bonus segment every now and then. And at the $5 a month pledge level, you'll get PDF copies of the 3 most recent HG101 books, which I believe right now includes like a Taito book. And you'll get PDFs of all upcoming books when they're released for as long as you're a subscriber. So something to think about, food for thought. Now back to the show.